All right, everybody. Special episode here. I'm here with James Jude Courtney, most famous probably for playing Michael Myers in the David Gordon Green, and I always forget the other guy's name. I mix them up. Yes, yeah. It's Danny McBride, David Gordon Green, Halloween's, all three of them. And he's here promoting his charity, Jay's Juniors. You can find that over at jaysjuniors.com. I'll have him talk about a little bit more about that. But it's a really cool charity focused on giving kids and their siblings and their families a trip to Disney World, terminally ill children. Just a super cool charity. So, James, thanks for joining us here today.
Pleasure to be here, man. Looking for to it.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you too. So Jay's Juniors, when did you get involved with them?
Jay Towers is an iHeartRadio talk show host. He's also a news anchor up in Detroit. Right after Halloween 2018, I met Jay at Motor City Comic Con, and we became fast friends. I've done multiple interviews with him. But he immediately resonated with the charity work he does, which is immense. And Nick Castle and I have jumped in and done some fundraising stuff for him, and I'm really proud to be a part of it. I mean, what they do is, they're terminally ill kids, and it's such a stressful situation. These kids are just fighting for their lives, and they're not going to make it. And so what Jay's Juniors does is takes the entire family, and I'm talking like a few hundred people each year in one big group down to Disney World. And the focus is not only on the kid that's sick, but it's on the siblings, because, when a kid is so ill, all that energy and all that focus and attention goes out on the sick child, but the other siblings need love and attention too, man. And so this is all about, bringing the family together, letting the entire family enjoy themselves, relieve themselves from the stress and anxiety of their everyday life. And so it's really a beautiful thing. And Jay is a powerful individual. I'm very, very fortunate to call him friend, and honored to be a part of his charity.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's a really cool charity. And I actually, when I was looking into like your charity work, I mean, you're doing a lot of it. You're doing the food bank down there in South Carolina. I saw that, and I think I saw another one. Oh, you did like a halfway to Halloween thing too.
Yeah, and that was to feed. Again, it's Jay Towers. He.
Oh, nice.
What happens is they, the kids that rely on school breakfast and school lunch. For many of these kids, it's the only food they eat. They go home and they don't get supper. These kids get hungry, and during the summertime they get nothing, and it just chaps my ass that that politicians will take money out of the mouths of starving children to give tax breaks to people like me. And it really pisses me off, because these kids, if you go to bed hungry, your brain doesn't develop. If your brain doesn't develop properly, you can't compete in school. If you can't compete in school, you're not going to compete for jobs, compete. You're not going to contribute to society. So it's this whole continuum. So Jay, Nick and I have gone up there, Nick Castle and I have gone up there and done some fundraising for, and Jay, basically his charity, that charity feeds all the kids in Detroit breakfast during the summer. And all the kids who rely on school lunches and school breakfast. So very proud to be a part of that as well. So Jay's a powerhouse, man. And I'm honored to call him friend.
That's incredible. Honestly, that's awesome. Good for you. That is one thing that also drives me nuts, by the way, that the food insecurity situation, that makes me absolutely crazy. I actually donate to my son's school constantly, because I'm just like, somebody needs this. Like I don't even know. They don't advertise it. They don't advertise to donate, but I'm like, let me just send money, because
that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
It makes me crazy to think about that.
The greatest resource we have is our children, right? More than oil, more than gold, it's our children. And it's the callous disregard for humanity is is astounding. But we can't change the way other people live, and and the hypocrisy of our world. What we can do is do our best to make a difference individually and collectively. And so that's where I sit, man. It's like you're doing it, I'm doing it. If each one of us does a little bit, something happens. And the domino effect of that is going to make the world a better place, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So we brought you here to promote and to talk about being Michael Myers. Producer Lexi set up a cool little event with our podcast and another podcast, Needlessly Nostalgic. They interviewed Tyler Main.
Nice.
So we're going to, at the end, we'll do some rapid fires that are kind of joint so we could see the two Michaels side by side on those topics.
Okay. I love Tyler. I love Tyler Main. Love him.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. He seems like a cool guy. I mean, it's based on just the way he looks, but he seems cool as hell.
He's a badass. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what he seems like.
Yeah.
So before we get into Michael Myers, I have to say, you played Peter Byrne in Unsolved Mysteries. And I dug the episode up to try and see it. What was that like, working on Unsolved Mysteries? Because that was like, for me as a kid, and I'd seen the episode that you were in, because that was like right at my Unsolved Mysteries period where I was just obsessed with it.
Oh, cool.
And I loved it. And so to see you in that, I was like, oh shit, that's so crazy. What was it like to be on Unsolved Mysteries? I mean, was that one of your earliest
earlier
credits? Yeah.
I hung out with Peter Byrne a lot, and he was the quintessential like British, Irish British gentleman. He was an RAF pilot in World War II. He ran it. He was a great white hunter, and then he realized he didn't want to kill lions and tigers and that kind of stuff anymore. So he ran a tea plantation in India, and he decided to try to find the Yeti. And and he's just the guy would wear an ascot to dinner, and just a refined gentleman. And we shot up in Mammoth Lakes in the winter, so we were bivouacking, man. We were out in the snow, sleeping in tents, and it was bad to the bone, dude. It was really great. And my good friend Vladimir Kulich played in that, and he ended up playing like Beowulf in the 12th night. No, 12th. The Beowulf in it's basically, anyways, with Antonio Banderas played the
I'm trying to think. What was it?
Warriors.
Yeah.
I'll think of it now. Vlad was going to give me a lot of crap for this, but yeah, it was really cool, man. It was a really fun episode because it was real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the dude had some really cool evidence. So this is a wonderful thing about being an actor, man, is you get to like live all these different parts of humanity and life and history. And if you're lucky enough, you get to immerse yourself or be with the people who really made history. So yeah, that's really cool that you that was a little piece of your life, man.
It was. It was so funny too, because it was like, just rewatching. I haven't watched Unsolved Mysteries in years, and so I like threw it on, and I'm watching it, and I was like, oh yeah, I loved the weird stuff, the Yetis, the UFOs. I was like, this is it. And then of course it did the ultimate unsolved mystery thing, which was like that ended, and then it was like, now we're going to tell you about this woman that got her head caved in by her husband, and you're like, Jesus Christ. And I remember like as a kid being like, oh God, I don't know if I should be watching this. Like the Yeti was fine, but if my mom saw me watching this, she'd be like, hey, why don't we turn this off? This is nuts.
Well, I still get residual. I think my last residual check for Unsolved Mysteries was like $2.31. I mean,
still going strong,
man. There's still, because residuals, it's a descending, return, a diminishing return. But, I still get checks from everything I've done. I mean, so it's really cool. It's a kind of a blast from the past too. I'll get a check and I go, oh, dude, I remember making that.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I
No, it's
literally
gotta be
get
interesting.
checks 2 cents, 3 cents, 5 cents, and I still get checks well in the thousands for movies I did 30 years ago. So it's crazy. Um, it's a cool business that way. But I really love the memory lane aspect of that, and
Yeah.
that was definitely one of my 13th Warrior. I think is what it was.
It's 13th Warrior. Yeah, I pulled it up. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I could picture when you were saying it, I could picture the cover very clearly.
Yeah, and Vladimir, he's really, really talented actor. And he played that with such quiet dignity. Yeah, Beowulf.
Yeah.
Such a powerful. He was played for the New York Rangers. He was an enforcer. So basically, when he was invited to try out for the Rangers, he looked around and said, "Whoa, everybody's better than I am." So what he'd do is he'd watch the clock, and every 60 seconds he just punched somebody, and it didn't matter. And then they were like, "Well, okay, he's an enforcer. Here you go, man. We need someone to fight. Vladimir's our man."
I love that about hockey. You could just be like, "Hey, I might not make it on the skates. I'm just gonna beat the shit out of this guy. Hope it works out." So you did Unsolved Mystery. Now, I read that you're listed in a lot of places as a stuntman and actor. It seems like you really focused more on acting, though. Is that the case? Yeah.
The thing is, back in the day, like in the 80s when I came up, you really couldn't be an actor stuntman because producers, directors, casting directors, they would look at you and go, well, he's a stuntman who thinks he can act. And then stunt coordinators would look at you and go, he's an actor who thinks he can do stunts. And so they really couldn't wrap their mind around chewing gum and walking at the same time. Now it's a premium. Now a guy who can do high falls and could do dialects and stuff, it's a premium. Those are the guys they're looking for. Back then, so a lot of guys like Alex Daniels, who's a very dear friend of mine, went to the same University of South Carolina. We went to college together. He's the current president of the Stuntmen's Association. The dude is a Joe Papp guy. He's done Shakespeare in the Park. The guy sings like a bird. He plays 9 instruments. I mean, he's incredibly talented, but a lot of the guys I came up with realized that if they were going to do what I was doing, they were going to lose a lot of money. So they chose to focus completely on stunts and make $500,000 to $1 million a year and just completely put acting away. For me, I always knew that I was going to produce and write, and I was going to make my own way anyhow. So for me, I wanted to draw on as much information, as much knowledge, experience as possible. And so for me, being an actor stuntman was the way to do it because I could refine multiple sets of skills. At the end of the day, when Ron Hutchinson, who was the stunt coordinator on the first movie I did, Halloween 2018, he read the script. He was the stunt coordinator for the Rob Zombie films, right? So he read the 2018 script and he called David Gordon Green, he called Malika Todd and said, "Look, this script is different than any other Halloween script. Whoever plays Michael Myers has to be a really good actor and he has to be a really good stuntman. And there's just not many of those guys around." And David Gordon Green said, "Well, he's got to be in his 60s. He's got to be 200 pounds and he's got to be 6'3". Who do you know?" And that really narrowed the pool down to me.
I was going to say, not a lot of that. And in the shape you're in, which is crazy. So good for you.
Yeah. Well, part of that, honestly, this is the truth. I've done thousands of high falls, fights, laid down motorcycles, crash cars. Part of it is, I would do this for me anyhow. I really think health is one of the most, important and beautiful gifts we have. But also, if I don't stay really strong and really limber, I'm in pain, dude. I wake up feeling like an 18-year-old guy. But the reason I do is because I stay in shape. If I let myself go for a month, dude, I'd get out of bed and I'd be like hobbling. It would suck. So
it's true. It's
a high motivation.
I just turned 40.
Okay, so you're right at that age, dude. You get out of free.
You start feeling it.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
It's crazy.
You don't get out of free anymore, bro.
I do a lot of like cycling and lifting, and it was just crazy. It was literally like a light switch went off one day, and I was like, I'm like cooked. Like, and if I don't do this, I'm miserable. I am so miserable if I'm not working out, stretching, like doing all of that stuff. So
it's a gift, man. It's a gift.
It is.
Plus, I think like your kids, they need to look at you and go, "Oh, that's what you look like at 40. Oh, that's if you look at 50 and 60 and 70. Your kids are going to do what you do, right?
Exactly.
So if you're slovenly and 80 pounds overweight and you can't breathe because you're smoking too much, and that's what they see. That's what they're going to do, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. That was actually a big reason for it for me and my son was I just wanted him to see that because he wasn't much of like a team sports kid, and I was like, I started teaching him like lifting and running and things like that. And he loves it. And I was like, oh, man, I wish I had that when I was a kid. Like just exercise, like just sustainable exercise is like really all you need, So, so before we get into the Michael Myers thing, I wanted to find out, were you a horror fan before getting into this? And if not, did you have any idea of like what the scene was like after you make one of these movies, like the con scene and all of that? Or was this like all new to you?
It's a yes and no. It's so I have 6 younger brothers, and on Friday nights in Cleveland, Ohio, there was a guy named Goulardi, 11 o'clock at night, and he was just this weird dude, and they played horror films every Friday night, right? So my dad, it was really cool because, and this is, I've learned this about families in horror, the genre. So my dad would sit with us. He's 6'5", 250 pounds, big. He put his big arms around us and hold us tight. And we would watch all the classic, horror films from the Universal films, especially, and the early 30s and all the way into the 40s and 50s. And so there's a very special place in my heart for horror because that's how my film, the love of film started, with my dad and my brothers. So I knew in 4th grade I was going to make movies for a living. That was an epiphany I had. It wasn't like I dreamt about it. It wasn't like I put up posters. It's like, my mom and dad love me. I'm going to go to college and then I'm going to make movies. That's what I'm going to do. So in 5th grade, I started making my own films. And I think because of the influence of my father and horror films, in 8th grade, I tried to form a filmmaking club. Because kids were asking me, like, every project, I went to a Catholic school. So every religion project, every English project, history project, I'd make a little film. And they sucked. But I'd make a little film. And so kids started asking me about it. So, and I was a weird kid in that I was different than them. And I didn't really have friends. I was athletic and I played in team sports, but I never really had a friend. I just thought differently, and I knew I thought differently than they did. So, and here's what proved it. So we got together, the group of kids, and we started talking about making a film, and they had these ideas about, I don't even remember them. They were so stupid. I had an idea of a black mass with a sacrifice, and that cemented in their minds that I was a weird motherfucker, and they didn't want to, you know what I mean? So it's in my DNA. Then to answer your question, I had no concept of what was waiting for me after I did Halloween. I'd never been to a convention. I was invited after Buffy the Vampire Slayer to do a Comic-Con in Detroit, but I didn't. I was working and I didn't understand, how wonderful it was.
Yeah.
So when I went to the first convention, I was blown away. And dude, what I was blown away with was the love.
Yeah.
The freaking love, man. And then as I started to learn about the horror community and the fans, I just saw how amazing the people were: kind, generous, courteous, passionate, intelligent. These are really, then I characterize it like this, dude. If the world were populated entirely with horror fans, we wouldn't need police or military. We'd all just freaking get along. But I think there's a reason why, man. And, so I think what happens is horror fans, because I have fans who I have intimate conversations with EMTs, firefighters, cops, emergency room docs, guys in firefights in Iraq and Afghanistan who after the shit would go and watch these movies to decompress. I think what happens is horror fans are healing their id, the subconscious. They're healing the trauma in their subconscious by watching these films. So I think there's a reason why horror fans are so freaking cool. They're so nice. You know what I mean? There's a real method to this madness. And so but I wasn't prepared for any of this. It was beautiful.
No,
it was beautiful, man.
It's awesome. It's a really cool thing. Actually, we had Jeff Daniel Phillips on, who's been in a bunch of Rob Zombie movies. And he had like a very similar thing where he was like, was not in the horror scene, didn't know anything about it, did Rob's movies, went to one, and he's like, and it blew me away. And he's like, and that's like what I live for now. Like, so
and
it's a cool thing.
So I don't have, they're being framed now. So I have, Basil Rathbone, who did The Black Cat. He did Son of Frankenstein. He was Sherlock Holmes in the Universal films, Sheriff of Nottingham. He did a lot of stuff with Errol Flynn. He's a spirit guy. He comes to me in dreams. The dude comes to me in dreams. He's been doing this for decades, right? I have dreams with Basil Rathbone. And so I have the only really signed autographed pictures I have are of Basil Rathbone. Right now I'm having them reframed. Otherwise one would be right behind me here, and I'd have them up here, and whatever. The thing, it was said of Basil Rathbone that the difference between him and Errol Flynn was Basil Rathbone was a really good guy who played really bad men. Errol Flynn was a real piece of shit who had to play men. Much harder for a piece of shit to play a good man than a good man to play a bad man.
Yeah,
and so
100%.
Daniel Phillips, myself, Derek Mears, like, let's go down the checklist of guys, who are really good guys and play really awesome bad guys,
Yeah. I mean, you get to touch into something that you don't normally get to be, right? Like, it's like this almost like escapism where it's like, oh man, this is what those people do. Like this.
We're having it. So when I played, Paul Winters directed my very first film, a Freeway Maniac, and there was no freeway in it. I stayed in a lockdown ward with paranoid schizophrenic murderers. Paul and I stayed for a weekend, but we had a psychiatrist there. We had orderlies there. These guys were all doing the Thorazine shuffle. They're just like, so there's no danger there. I learned a lot, and through that process, it came to me to understand that we inhabit these characters, or they inhabit us. So David Gordon Green said to me in 2018 that he'd only worked with one other actor who could go as deep and dark as I went in 2018, and then kills and ends. And that guy ended up in a psych ward for 2 months. He had a psychotic break.
Fuck.
But I do breath work. A guy named Max Strom teaches breathing, and I use Max Strom's breathing techniques to breathe the character in. And dude, it's a dark place. It's dark. It's real.
Yeah.
It's full. It's rich. But then when I'm done, I breathe it out. So I don't go back to the hotel room or my house at night after a day of that. And Heath Ledger, people like that couldn't break it, man.
Yeah, it's probably a very thin line, especially when it's sort of like I don't want to bring it back to me or my mental health, but I'm bipolar, right? And when I got medicated, one of my biggest fears was like, will I be funny still? Like, I work so much harder when I'm manic. Like, everything's great. Everything's great when I'm manic. I need to stay in this zone. I need to stay in this zone. And I imagine a lot of those guys kind of were like in the same boat where they were like, well, if I let it go, like, will I lose it? You know what I mean? Instead of just being like, hey, I can get here tomorrow. Like, I can let this go tonight and go to bed.
Yeah.
And so
when we begin to see our obstacles as our allies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's when, and all of us have a cross to bear, man. All of us have some level of mental health issue. All of us have psychological, emotional, spiritual elements all of us. And so it's really about, dealing, it's cliche, but it's the hand we're dealt, man. So what are we going to do with it? And there's great assets in everything,
There is. Yeah. A lot of stuff to draw from. So how they put out this thing, they're looking for the 6'2" guy in their 60s. How do you first get approached on Michael Myers, and what was the reaction like for you?
Well, so I had moved back to South Carolina. I was focused completely on writing and producing, and I told myself, look, I'm happy to be in front of a camera. I love it, but I'm not auditioning anymore. I don't have an agent anymore. I've got an attorney. if someone calls me, and a couple of friends had called me, I did a few commercials and did some fun stuff, but I was just focused. And so when I knew Ron 35 years. We worked on films together, but the films I worked on with him, I was just an actor. I didn't do stunts, but he knew me as a stuntman. He knew my reputation. And it was really my friends, Jennifer and Chris Nielsen. Chris Nielsen's probably one of the top stunt drivers in the business. The guy can do anything in a car. And Ron, when he called David Malik and said, look, this guy's he's got to have deep acting chops. He's got to be a really good stuntman. David's like, okay, 6'3", 200 in the 60s. Ron didn't really know. And it was Jennifer and Chris Nielsen who were like, nah, Jimmy Courtney. And they're like, oh, so Ron called me and told me the story. And I was, like, yeah, cool. And he goes, so you interested? I'm like, yeah, sure. So they called me and asked me to drive down to Charleston from Columbia, hour and a half drive. And I went in and they put me on tape, interviewed me, my acting experience. I mean, I've been trained. Stella Adler was one of my coaches. I had a coach from the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, my stunt experience, and then the experience in, being in a lockdown ward, and my acting experience and so I thought, cool. I didn't even get out of the parking lot, dude. And they called me from California, from Blumhouse. And they're like, hey, are you available? I'm like, yeah. And you always take that with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? That's like,
everything
whatever.
changes. Yeah.
And so I didn't even get to the freeway, which is only 2 miles away. And they called me back and they said, hey, David Gordon Green wants to meet you. Can you go back? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I went back and met David and Ryan Turek and Malik and those guys. And from what I hear, basically when they saw me, that was it. They just told everybody to go home. I mean, they just called agents and said, we're not interested, so it was very specific. David knew exactly what he wanted. And flash forward to Halloween Kills, David's very specific. So for the flashback scene, he wanted somebody who was young and he didn't. And I'm like, dude, I can play the flashback, but now I get why David did what he did. He wanted somebody who was young. And they looked at over 200 people. This is what I'm told. They looked at over 200 people to try to find somebody who could move like I move, and they couldn't find anybody. And finally, Aaron Armstrong, who was the stunt coordinator for Halloween Kills, he and I sat down and talked about it. Well, he practiced Aikido, and Aikido, of all the martial arts, is a very specific way of moving. And that's part of what I use in the movement for Michael, for my iteration of the shape. So Aaron mastered it immediately because he'd had like 10 or 15 years of Aikido. I've had 10 or 15 years of Aikido amongst the other marks that we both had worked. So Aaron killed it. But no other stunt guy that they looked at could move the way I move. And no other actor. So, and I wasn't going to tell anybody. Fuck that. Yeah.
That's super interesting that would come into that Aikido. That was Steven Seagal's big martial art of choice. Yeah. That's amazing. Was there a lot of pressure once you got the role? I'm sure you were ecstatic, and then was there like oh shit, like this is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, horror franchise that I'm going to be like sort of carrying the weight of? I mean, Jamie Lee's in there, but
dude, so my dad was airborne in Korea, 101st Airborne. He was a stock car racer. I think my brothers and I all learned from him, some more, some less, but most of my brothers are like my dad. We're very mission oriented. So as soon as you get a mission in front of you, that's what your life is about. Everything else falls to the side. So I never thought about the size of the role or the franchise or any pressure. It became, how do I do my absolute best to give David Gordon Green what he wants? How do I honor the work that Deborah Hill and John Carpenter created? How do I honor what Nick Castle so intuitively and richly created in 1978? So that was all, and that's very spiritual. That work is there's not a lot of left brain in that. It's a lot of right brain, a lot of intuit, a lot of emotional work. But it was, so I became so mission oriented that I never really thought about it, to be honest with you. I mean, I get asked the question, and so I'll give an answer like this. but I've never really thought about the magnitude of it. It's like,
I mean, that's where the best performances come from, though, in anything. I think, and like your point to Nick Castle, which I want to talk about your guys' relationship a little bit, but to your point with Nick Castle didn't have anything to worry about or stress about or be like, they're going to compare me to other Michaels. He was Michael, so it didn't matter. And I think for you, as you're mentioning, it's a very spiritual thing. It's a little bit like the Buddhist, like being present. Like you are just here today, and this is what you're doing today, and there's no reason to even think about anything else.
100%, absolutely. And I'm present as a person anyhow. I don't think about the future a whole lot, except for what I'm working towards. I don't really think about the past. I don't even have a good memory. What I did do, so there was a great character actor named Ted Knight. When I first got to Hollywood, he was such a generous guy, and he gave me this incredible gift. He said, if you want to be a good actor, emulate the bartender, emulate the guy walking down the street, emulate your mother, but don't try to move the way they move and talk the way they talk. Reach inside their soul, and if you can grab their soul, you're automatically going to walk the way they walk and talk the way they talk. People, and I was like, okay. He goes, but you got to practice. So I started practicing, just reaching into people. And I started being able to imitate people, not because I was, physically moving the way they did, because I learned how to reach inside and grab them spiritually. And so what I did before I went down to meet, to get put on tape and then meet David Gordon Green, I watched the 1978 film one time, and it was, Nick was in the backyard walking camera left to camera right. And inside my head, I went, I got it. And I never thought again about how he moves or any motivation, or because what I did was I grabbed what Nick created. And Nick will go, yeah, he just told me to walk and I walked. Well, that's bullshit. Nick is such a high creative. He is such an incredibly talented human being. When he was given that role, he just intuitively did things that, he'd read the script. He knew what John was creating. He's just a really humble guy,
Yeah.
And he didn't put any brain power into it. It was all intuitive for him.
Right.
But he brought so much to that character, dude. Yeah. I mean, and I never could have created what I created had Nick not created what he created. So I just took what Nick created and filtered it through this body that's have 40 more years of experience, who's lived through the life I've lived, done the plant medicine I've done in the jungles of Peru, and the African shaman I've worked with, and all the psychological, emotional, spiritual work I've done, and all those things added on to what Nick Castle created. And then that became the shape that I played.
That's incredible. How did you and Nick first link up on this? Was he involved at all in like the making of the 2018 movie, or was he did one
scene. So he showed up about 3 weeks late. Yeah, he about 3 weeks in, he shows up. We've never talked about the character, never, not once. In fact, we've never really talked about the movies. I mean, we talk about other things. So he showed up, and that night we went to dinner to a barbecue place called Nick and Jim's, and we just been fast friends ever since.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, and we were hoping, we knew he was going to do one scene. So what we were hoping for was to have a passing of the baton, like a passing of the torch, and we got it because he's in the window. When Laurie Strode drives up, you see him up in the window. Well, they had to do a long shot on him because that mask is formed exactly to my face. Nobody else can wear it. And, and so you'll notice, and the few times I've been doubled, you'll never really get anything close to them. The most doubling that was done in Halloween Kills was Aaron Armstrong. Again, some of the stuff in the tunnel because I'd be in makeup. But other than that, and so in that one, then when they get to the close up in the mirror, first of all, they're close. So, even though it's a disorienting mirror, they're still close and you can see the mask. And secondly, the weapon was 2 feet behind me and 2 feet over, and they're shooting a projectile into the mirror. Like Nick wanted no part of that shit. He was, I want nothing to do with that. And I live for that shit, like in harm's way. Yeah, dog, I'm into it, close to death. Fuck yeah.
So the mask, you're talking about that. So did the mask, I guess there's a couple questions here, but did it affect your performance at all wearing the mask?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
How did that work out for you?
So, I already knew what I was going to do. I mean, it was already in me. And we were rehearsing that long tracking shot. So the day before, the first day of shooting, the night before, we're rehearsing that long tracking shot because it was really, really difficult. And about 11 o'clock at night, Chris Nelson had just flown in. He just finished the masks, and he flew in. He walks in. It was like something out of the, like out of The Exorcist. He comes walking in. It's dark. He's got a leather Halliburton, like a leather doctor's bag. He's carrying this thing. Malik and David Gordon Green, Danny McBride, Ron, the stunt coordinator, cinematographer, Mike and so all the principals would go into this back room so nobody can see. And Chris places me in a doorway, right? So the light's just perfect on my face. And then he gets down to the bag and he opens it. And it's really hard to apply. The mask is really difficult to put on me. But he puts it on and then he steps back, and collectively everybody in the room went, ugh. Like this guttural, just like, ugh. And it's just like, it felt like an 8 million amp connection, just like, it's this surge of power, and everybody in the room felt it. It was like, it was a metaphysical experience, and it was powerful.
That's cool. Did you have any input on the mask and its evolution over the course of the 3 movies?
Yes. Yeah. And especially when it came to Halloween Ends, Chris and I sat, and I brought it up. We knew we were going to work together on it. But I brought up a few ideas about how I would look without the mask. And then Chris and I talked a lot about them. And then Chris and David and I would, have a lot of, we worked together on Ends mostly. For me, Kills a little bit. I had no input on 18 because, I showed up and it was ready. So,
right.
But that was a long process, man. I mean, all the work you have to do to be fit for a mask. I mean, I had my head in a bucket of putty for an hour with 2 McDonald's straws.
Straws, yeah.
Dude, if you're claustrophobic, you're fucked. I mean, it's not good.
Yeah, I've seen those on like behind the scenes things, and I'm always like, I don't know if I could do it. Like the 5 minutes, fine. The 2 hours, 3 hours, no, I'm good.
Yeah, it's meditative, man. But I find, like the longest I've been in makeup with Chris on Halloween Ends was 5 hours. For all the prosthetics and everything. But I find makeup, or I find, doing that, I find it really, really calming and meditative. It's a really special place for me, and especially when you're working with someone like Chris Nelson, he's so incredibly creative, and you create that bond, and you're co-creating something. You're co-creating a character, and so to me, getting in that vibe with him, that energy flow was, dude, I wish I could live my life in that place,
That's awesome. Did you, so you were talking about, you breathed in the character, you breathed it out. Did you feel like once the mask came on, you were there, or were you kind of there prior to the mask coming on, or did the mask like accelerate that?
Well, it became where, as Chris was applying the mask, I was breathing the character in.
Okay.
And, but then the scenes where I wasn't wearing the mask, I was still breathing the character in. But
right.
Mask has an energy, and so in the scenes where I'm wearing a mask or I'm not wearing the mask, I think you can see the difference in the energy of just the character itself, and that's because there truly is an energy in that mask. It's more than just a piece of latex with some paint on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I believe that about a lot of things. I think a lot of things carry energy. Well, it's so weird. It's like, tools or guitars or something. It feels like there's like massive shifts in energy, and if you like ignore one for a while, like I have 3 or 4 bikes, and it's like I swear if I like leave one away for too long, I get on it and it's like it behaves differently, it doesn't work as well, and it's like
Right.
it wants my love. And if I feel like when I ride it for a while, it's like, all right, we're cool again, like we're all right, just don't leave me in the dust.
I've got 4 motorcycles and a couple of vintage cars, and it's, I make it a point to exercise them. I make it, and when I travel so much, I really have to, I got some work to do. I got one motorcycle with a sidecar for my dog, but I make it a point, and now I haven't had enough time to get the work done. My buddy Zach Myers, band Shinedown, right? Oh
yeah.
Okay, so Zach this year is playing the leopard guitar, Prince's leopard guitar. So when Prince, before he died, he told his tech, he's like, look, I don't want this thing, if something happens to me, I don't want this thing auctioned. I don't want it sitting in a freaking museum somewhere. I want it to be played. So what they do is every year the tech will choose one top rock and roll artist, and he'll give the leopard guitar to one artist, and that artist plays it for a year. One tune every concert, and it's not in his rack. It's way too valuable. So someone walks out with the leopard guitar and gives it to, and Zach plays it, and then it's taken right back and put into a vault because it's so valuable. But Prince understood that very reality. This is a living, breathing thing. It needs to do what it does.
I've never heard that before. That is like one of the coolest things I've ever heard. That's so cool. So what, before I get into like the more meta stuff, what was the toughest stunt sequence that you did on this one? Well, or on these three movies rather?
It's kind of, there's different elements that are difficult. The fire is the most dangerous, hands down.
Right.
And incredibly uncomfortable because, those fire scenes, like walking through the house, I had to count the steps to the door, then to the edge of the porch, because if I breathed in, I'd burn my lungs. If I opened my eyes, I'd burn my eyes. So, the explosion at the end of 18, that's, like you're sitting in front of a campfire and your jeans get super hot and you got to move. Yeah. That's how hot my entire body was. And then fire will bite you. And when it bites you, you've got like 7 or 8 seconds to get out, and then you're going to get hurt. Yeah. And so you got to move slow, because if you don't move slowly, then you're going to fan the heat. And, the mob scene, that fight was complex. And,
I was going to bring that up.
So there's different scenes that were difficult for different reasons, but then that's why we do what we do. It's like you want to be challenged to that level. And the guys, especially with Halloween Kills, Aaron Armstrong, excellent stunt coordinator, man. He just came in so prepared, and the stunt guys he brought in were such excellent martial artists. The intensity of, and the perfection of where they planted their kicks and their punches and the weapons. And, it was, and that's just such a joy. But at the end of it, at the end of those 3 movies, I counted 1 concussion, 2 hematomas, bruised ribs, a whole bunch of blood. And, at one point, I think my knee was swollen up the size of a grapefruit. A watermelon. I got my ass kicked, dude. And that's just the physical part. Then there's the emotional and psychological drain, but you want that, man. That's what we, we live for that. That's why we do what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. And the intensity of Michael in those 3 it's much more brutal. The silence with Michael in those 3 seem almost deafening silence. Like it's very scary silence in that. Yeah. How is that to get into that zone? Because we talked about the breathing it in, but to actually be in those brutal moments in that movie, that had to be challenging.
I'm living it. I'm living it. So it just is, it's expansive.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's powerful. It's incredibly energizing. At the end of a 12 or 14-hour day, man, I'm just jacked up. So, and so there's a lot of, so there's all the breathing, the breathing work includes, coming down from that and grounding and centering and and it's funny because I probably put the most man hours in on 18. I know I did. And then the Halloween Ends was the least amount of work, but in many ways, so the finale between Jamie and I, hands down, Jamie and I talked about it, is the most powerful thing either one of us has ever done in film. And for her to say that is incredibly, powerful because, she's got an amazing body of work. But that finale, that death scene was just so deep and so rich and so powerful. It's just, and it was really, really beautiful that it all led up to that. And Jamie is such an incredibly generous actor and, and person, and is so talented. And, the when it all starts at the top in a film and the director sets the tone for everything. And David Gordon Green I've worked with some really amazing directors, and hands down, David Gordon Green's the best. He's my favorite.
Wow. And being surrounded by Jamie Lee, as you mentioned, David Gordon Green, did that push you to kind of be like, go to that next level for that role?
I think that's what happens. It's funny. I had lunch today with a friend of mine who is playing basketball for Arkansas right now. He played for, as young men do in the transfer portal. He played for Alabama, made Final Four, came here to the University of South Carolina, played, and then he just transferred to Arkansas. And he and I just had lunch today. And Nick Pringle is a wonderful, wonderful guy. He's probably going to end up in the NBA. There's a mindset that happens, you know what I mean? And you want to be surrounded by the absolute best talent you can be, because it's like, three pianos in a room. You hit a C chord in one piano, the C chords and the other two pianos are going to vibrate. So we're going to vibrate at the energy of the people around us. So we want to be around people that are as talented or more talented than we are, because that vibration is just going to lift us. And when you have an amazing director like David Gordon Green, or a generous actor like Jamie, they're there to lift everybody up, And I mean, there's just so, I just consider myself immensely grateful for, for that experience.
Yeah. You mentioned you played team sports. What sports did you play?
Basketball, football, then there was, beach volleyball for a long time when I ended up, moving to California. But there are odd things that happened to me just at the point where I hit my growth spurt and really would have been able to step into expressing myself athletically to the degree that I know I could have. We moved. And, then all of a sudden the coaches that I had respect from, and who would have taken me to that next level, I lost. But it was supposed to be that way, and that's when I picked up music. And so what I've discovered in my life is that I'm kind of a jack of all trades and a master of none. I've had a lot of experience in a lot of different things, but as an actor, as a writer, as a filmmaker, that's what I need. I need lots of different experiences.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that's for everything. And in the basketball thing, I was kind of thinking you were going, because just your mentality of like the team play and being like, okay, I've got these pieces around me, and that's what brings, everyone works together to bring it up. And that's such a big, and I know it's in a lot of team sports. I'm a big basketball fan though. So to me, I see it a lot more in basketball, where it's like, hey, if we pass this around, like we're going to make something special if we work together on this.
Yeah, man. It's about the team,
Yeah. No hero ball.
Right now, man, David does not suffer fools gladly. Like, it's about the team. And if it's not about the team, he has no problem, hitting the eject button, like,
see you later.
Like, you're gone, bro. I love that, man. I mean, we're all in it with each other, dude.
Oh yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Yeah, it's to me, it's in my day job. It's like I get made fun of because I'm just constantly being like, so in basketball, I can relate to. I can relate. I can bring anything back to basketball and be like,
That's
hey,
awesome, man. Yeah, I learned a hard lesson, man. I worked on a film called When a Man Loves a Woman with Andy Garcia and Meg Ryan.
Yeah,
and it was a really, really powerful piece. Al Franken wrote it. Al Franken, a remarkably talented human being.
yeah.
And I learned a really tough lesson. There was a guy, a character actor, and he fucked with me. He fucked with everybody. I didn't know what he was doing until the movie was over until I was done shooting and someone explained it to me. What he was doing was fucking everybody up so that for every scene he was in, he would get all the close-ups. He was willfully fucking with people and undermining them so that he could get more screen time.
That's crazy.
Right? And had I known, I'd have fucked with him back. But I didn't know. I was a young actor. I had no idea. I was so innocent because I have 6 brothers. You know, I play team sports. Like, it's all about the team. It's all about
we're all in this together. Yeah.
Yeah. The thought that someone would do that was just so foreign to me, man.
That's fucking crazy. That's nuts. So you're now in this elite group of people that have played Michael Myers. Why do you think this character has endured so long? Why do we keep coming back to Michael?
I think, what John Carpenter, Deborah Hill tapped into is just such a simple, like, human thing that, who has not had a dream where you're running and you can't get away? Yeah. Everybody knows what that feels like. And the fact that the shape can walk faster than you can run is enough to fuck you up for life. It just is. It just speaks to, it goes right to the amygdala, man. It goes right to the core fear of what it means to be human. And so I think, and the beauty of what they created, and for fans who love to be scared, who love the psychological drama, especially, I mean, just the tension of that, the build of that. And what I loved, and Danny McBride and I talked about this, I love the way Danny McBride and David Gordon Green brought humor in and used that to disarm the audience to then get the effect of the fear factors, And if you look at the great old Universal horror films, they were wonderfully humorous, wonderfully.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it is to me, it's a key factor in it. If it's all up here, you're never going to experience that raise again, right? Like, you got to bring them down here, calm them down, make you feel safe, and then hit you, and then come back. You know what I mean? I think that's an important thing in these movies, which I feel like the Halloween franchise hadn't seen for a long time prior to these.
Yeah, I think, David and Danny are such incredible students of human nature and of art forms of film, and so I think they really got what is going to affect. It was all about the audience, you know. It was all about the audience. It was all about the fans, and everybody really, really. In these 3 films, everybody was a fan of the franchise. I mean, in 1978, when I saw this film in a theater, the first Halloween, I knew it was a game changer. Like, there were films in that era, Star Wars, Rocky, Halloween. That was a really important era in filmmaking. It shifted, and Halloween was a game changer, man.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, without a doubt, it's up there. Now, okay, this is going to sound a little bit, I feel like you're going to not love this question because you're such a humble person. But what does it mean to you personally? Because you are now forever tied to the legacy of Halloween and Michael Myers. What does that feel like for you?
Well, it's an honor because it means so much to so many people, and so a lot of people, having met so many people, especially doing conventions, so many fans. A lot of people have really tough lives, man. A lot of people struggle. A lot of people work, 2 and 3 jobs. A lot of people are dealing with health issues or family issues or emotional issues or, and to know that I get to be a part of another human being's joy, that I am blessed enough and lucky enough to have been able to just have some positive impact in someone's life or the lives of people. It is incredibly humbling, and I feel eternally grateful for it. It's at the end of the day, I think it's one of the ancient cultures, might have been the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and I can't remember. Don't quote me on this, but one of the questions you're asked is, "Who did you help? When you die, who did you help? Like, what did you do that made a difference in somebody's life?" And I don't think this is earth shattering, but it is. I know because I see it, and and the DMs I get, and the handwritten letters I've gotten, and the conversations I've had with people, and Nick will tell you the same thing, and the other guys who played the role will tell you that. I mean, actually played the role. The guys who actually who actually inhabited the role will tell you that the interactions they've had have been so deep and profound. And so it's super gratifying, man, and humbling.
That's so cool. Is there anything you want? I don't want to say you want. Is there any stamp that you put on Michael Myers that you hope future actors carry forward?
Yeah, I would hope that if. Well, it depends on, it depends on the script, it depends on the director, it depends on what they're going for.
Yeah.
But I would hope that someone does what I did with Nick and his character. Like, I reached in and grabbed what I feel was the vibration of Nick Castle playing the Shape. And then I made it my own, and it grew because it was 40 years older and it had all this experience and, all these shapes and forms and emotions and all the things that formed that character 40 years later. So I would hope that someone would reach into what Nick and I created, and Tyler and the other guys as well, maybe, sure. and just sort of allow that to ferment inside them and out of that create something new and different and exciting and make it their own. That's really important.
Yeah. If you want to play Michael, fans, get into that Aikido class immediately.
Yeah.
Start practicing. Yeah. All right. So we're doing a crossover with the podcast Needlessly Nostalgic. They're going to be talking to Tyler Mane about his experience with Michael Myers and the charity work he does with Deliver Fund to End Human Trafficking, which is awesome. And Lexi will actually have if you go to bloodydisgusting.com, by the time this drops, there'll be an article on there with links to all of the organizations, and so check that out. But as part of this little crossover, we've got some Michael Myers rapid fire questions here. Actually, it seems like you actually answered some of these. So I'm going to skip the first one. Was, what's your process for getting into character as Michael Myers? Do you have to work yourself up? You kind of already hit that one.
Yeah, I breathe in and I breathe out. There you go.
Breathe in and breathe out. Preferred killer tool for Michael?
Knife. Hands down, dude. Knife. Yep.
What are the knives like on a set? Are they how sharp are they?
They dull them, but they are those. I'm spacing on the knife maker, but it is a very expensive kitchen knife, and the beauty of it is it's so well balanced. So the balance of the knife when you're moving, when it's in your hand, and I did that the little knife flip when I'm in the backyard. I've done a lot of sword work and knife work, and so to have a finely balanced instrument in your hand like that, it feels so good. So
That's
the props
cool.
department in these films, the props were amazing. These guys did such an incredible job. And, yeah. So a knife, hands down, dude. Yeah.
That's awesome. Favorite kill from your films?
I have three because, the iteration of the evolution of the character through that process, the night, and then some years later, the window kill in 18, because that's the way I would kill somebody: get in quietly, take care of business, and get out. Right.
Yeah.
In Halloween Kills, the Cameron kill, dude, that was just, that was it. There was a certain brutality to it, but calculated and precise, and that little prick Cameron deserved it, right? And then for in all the Halloween films, the Bob kill is my favorite kill. So the homage to the Bob kill, killing the nurse in Halloween Ends, was my favorite there.
Okay.
So I have to go with three kills. I can't just go with one.
No, I'm with that. I think that is a better answer. I prefer that answer. So
Okay.
We're good with that. Three is perfect. Is there any victim from the series that you actually felt sorry for?
No.
I mean, when you're in that zone, I feel like you're not going to be like, oh man.
Well, it's like, the part of the method that I use in also creating the movement of the shape was watching my cat Parzival hunt. And, so you don't judge a cat for killing a mouse, right? That's what cats do. Why would you judge the shape for killing the people he kills? I mean,
that's interesting.
It's what the shape does. That's
right.
What the shape does. And I can tell you that one of the things, like if you see a cat moving through the grass, and they'll move.
Yeah.
And then they'll
the super slow paw.
Right? Every fiber of their being is alive. Every hair is alive. Every muscle is alive. Their skin is alive. When I'm moving is the shape. And this is another thing that, the people cosplaying or, trying to imitate the way I move, they don't get, because every single scene you see me moving in those three movies, every fiber of my being is alive. Isometrics are like my muscles are constantly in isometric form. Everything is and is tense, but really soft and ready to strike in a moment. I mean, it's such an alive, aware place, and everything around me I'm aware of when I'm in that space.
Yeah.
And that's, it's, and unless you know that place, unless you know how to get to that place spiritually, as a martial artist, emotionally, like all the things that it takes to be that, I can explain it, but to live it's a whole different experience.
Oh yeah. I feel like there's just not a lot of credit given to the people that have played that role to that level, where it's got to be exhausting when you're actually putting the effort into that character, and that's the difference between, some of the Michaels and some of the other ones, where it's like, oh, like this guy scares the shit out of me. Like, I don't want to ever see this guy ever, like actor or Michael. Like, it's like, this guy looks like, I don't want to be around this guy.
Yeah. Then it goes back to, we talked about earlier about Basil Rathbone, I mean,
right.
You look at the guys who've really played the role, and they are the nicest guys in the frickin' world, and hands down. And there's something to, there's something, but at the end of the day, I think it's the nice guys you got to look out for in life too. Some guy mouthing off at a bar, you see that guy coming. The nice guy who's just with his woman, just trying to have a nice time. And, somebody, I mean, those stories are ubiquitous, right?
Oh yeah.
The nice little guy just opens up and whip ass.
I always feel like it's the big guys too. Like all of my friends that are like 6'3", 6'4", they are the nicest guys I've ever met. And they are also the most scary when I've seen them mad. And I'm like, I gotta get away. Like this is I've never seen it. And it's like sort of one of those things where they're so big, I feel like it's like people feel that way about them, so they kind of like soften everything a lot more.
You don't have to. I mean, so my brother number 6 in my family was 6'7", 285 pounds. He was a defensive lineman.
Wow.
Died in a car accident while he was still in college. But I remember walking with him down the street. 6'7", 6'8", 285. He's a big kid, and the sweetest guy in the world, funny as hell. But I could see people in the street look at him and they would just have fear in their eyes. So this automatic assumption that somebody that size is just lethal. And you know what? In the right circumstance, it was. Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, it's just I think that's the gift of size. And I remember my dad telling me too is in life, the guys you're going to have problems with are the guys who are like really small and really insecure, and you just got to deal with it. And I've never had a problem with a big man.
No, I never have either. It's always the little nightmares thing. Yeah. Last one. Well, second to last. I forgot. Lexi has her question that I have to ask everyone. If you could play any non-Michael Myers slasher, who would you choose?
Wow. The thing is, I mean, I really appreciate for instance, what Robert Englund did, playing Freddy. If I look at that, or I look at the guys who played, the various characters that have been played, I respect what they've done so much that I wouldn't want to try to best any of them or put my thumbprint on that, because I don't think it's my place. I would prefer the opportunity to play something brand new, something that's never been done before, and that way, maybe to start the legacy, to be the progenitor of a legacy and other actors could come in and fill out and play with and build on and grow. I really respect a lot of the work that the guys who play Jason and the Leatherface and there's a lot of fun stuff, and a lot of guys, a lot of really hard work into those, man. And I'm good with Michael, and and good Lord willing, the dam don't break, I'll be playing another really cool role.
I hope so. I was gonna say, I hope you get that opportunity to do something new and fresh. All right, Lexi's question: are you familiar with Poltergeist?
Yes.
Okay. The question
not hugely, but let me preface that. Are you familiar with the theory that maybe Tobe Hooper didn't direct Poltergeist and that maybe Steven Spielberg directed Poltergeist? No, I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, okay. So, because if you look at Poltergeist, and Steven Spielberg produced it, but the theory is that Tobe Hooper was going through some stuff and it looks like a Steven Spielberg movie through and through. It's crazy. And the question is, who do you think directed Poltergeist? But if you don't know, if you haven't seen it in a while, I don't think you're going to have any input on that.
No, if I did, I'd be lying, and then I could just be a politician.
Yeah, there you go. So your next role.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Wow, I learned something new here.
It's an interesting concept. When you watch it, you're like, oh God, like this is weird. It's like the blue hues. It's very Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff online you could read about, but I'll let you do that.
It's so interesting, isn't it? What is thrown out online anyhow, because anybody can say anything, and so it's crazy. No, that one's nuts. And so we're starting a campaign actually to say that Tobe Hooper directed Jaws and not Steven Spielberg, because they flipped. Well, good for them, man.
One for me. All right, James, thank you so much for coming on. And do you want to plug anything or the charity again?
Jay's Juniors. Yeah, I invite those who can to go to Jay's Juniors and and contribute if you can. It's just such a worthy cause, and Jay does such a wonderful job with these guys. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the opportunity to because it's monumental what it costs to bring 200 people to Disney World, and Disney World does not give anybody a discount. I mean,
nope.
They don't. Nope. And airlines do not give anybody a discount. Nobody gives anybody a discount. So, Jay, the amount of time and effort and energy and work that it takes to do this is just staggering. So, I super appreciate you guys, letting people know about this and sharing this information. It's dear to my heart.
Yeah, of course. And for everyone that's interested, it's jaysjuniors.com/donation. You can also just go to jjuniors.com and you'll find the link for it there. But a really, really wonderful organization. I'm really glad to have learned about it through you. So, yeah. And if you have family that you want to nominate or apply, they also accept those.
Yes.
So
yes.
So do that if you know anyone that's struggling with these issues. But James, thank you so much again for coming on. I appreciate it. And let's talk again after this new project.
Yeah, love to, man. They're in the pipeline, man. So in fact, there's something really, really special coming up that I'm absolutely certain we'll have plenty to talk about with. So I look forward to it.
We're going to get you back on. Awesome. Thanks, James.
Much love.